had a tendency to lean into striving and perfectionism. And so I would, in church, while it's all well-meaning, I wanted to do all the right things. But this vitality or freedom was really only there when it was just me and God. And so I walked this life throughout, middle school, high school. I was a chameleon. I could read people a mile away and kind of conform to what was acceptable in each of those environments. And then, my firstborn comes, I get married, my firstborn comes along, and even as a mom, I think, this must be free-ish, like free enough. And I wasn't entering any diaper changing competitions or anything. I was just doing the beautiful work of raising kids, and it really wasn't until, honestly, I was here a couple years ago, but right around that time was when I realized how unfree I was. My first book had come out. I was starting to speak and talk about my journey through panic disorder and anxiety, living in New York City and crashing and burning, and the Lord rescuing me from that. But once I started to speak on a stage, it created this bondage in that, like I didn't enter diaper changing competitions, but I would now all of a sudden compare myself to other speakers or writers and think, like, did they like me? Did I say the right thing? Did I do it correctly? And I had to get real honest, and this is how the book begins in the chapter Free to Confess, where I would run back to my hotel room and I would check social media, did it resonate? And I realized, Rebekah, everything you're doing right now is not for an audience of one. And so I watched a talk by my dear friend Ann Voskamp in a dark hotel room one random night in California, and I'm eating a cheeseburger, and that's when you've sunk to, you're in a dark hotel room watching a screen. And she said, those who keep score in life just want to know that they count. And when you do what you do for an audience of one, you always know that you count. And I realized right then, and that's why I write Free to Confess, I had to confess to God in that moment. I said, I am keeping score. And for some reason, I have lost the freedom, the childlike freedom that I had known or grown to love, from my earliest memories. And he's like, well, you matter to me. Is that enough? And I'm like, no, it's actually not. And the confession of that, I know, was more for me than it was for God. It was this entree to intimacy and beauty that I'd never walked with him up until that point. It almost opened the door wide open to him to begin to say, well, you're right. I'm glad you're finally realizing that. And he's like, I want to begin to show you all the places that I want to set you free.